If you know what's good for you, you'll follow us on Rumble. Please give this video a like and subscribe!
All right, we are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Honey Badger Radio. My name is Brian. I'm here with Alison, and this is Maintaining Frame. Date coworkers, men say no. We're going to be looking at an article. We covered this one on the Patron show last night, but I thought it was too good to keep to ourselves because what we have here is a woman that's a guest opinion writer for the New York Times. And she is discovering that the MeToo movement has destroyed dating in the workplace, workplace romance opportunities. And not just the workplace, also schools, basically everywhere where, men and women gather and there is some kind of institution that can punish people for upsetting someone, basically. But she says, ditch all that. Forget the risk. Guys, just, walk up to her and ask her out at work. What's the worst thing that can happen? Just do it. And do it because I want it. I won't spoil anything because I did read the article, but it's definitely something out of self-interest. Not because, this is all in such a bad place and I feel so bad for all the people who are struggling to get together. No, it's about me.
All right. Okay. I'm sure this is going to understand the male perspective. It's going to have a deep and comprehensive understanding of what men are dealing with when it comes to attempting to elicit interest in the fairer gender, shall we say, fairer sex. So I'm sure this is going to be very symmetrical, very balanced. It's
Absolutely.
not just going to. Absolutely, guys. I know this is it. This is
brimming with compassion. Yeah.
But I was going for turn of the tide, but I said turd of the tide. Probably more accurate to what we're going to be reading. But anyway, if you want to send a message to us, the very best way for you to do so, because you avoid YouTube's comment shitification system, and we get the full benefit of whatever funds you send, is feedthebadger.com/justthetip. The fundraiser is open. Big thanks to Spiky Helmet Badger for putting in $250. Thank you, Spiky Helmet Badger. And do you want to give a sound to that, or are we just moving on?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay. And if you would like
news,
to join
everyone.
Sorry, there's a little bit of a delay on the button press.
That's fine. Brian's just going into a fugue state over this article. If you would like to join Spiky Helmet Badger, it's at feedthebadger.com/support. Make sure that we can continue to bring you this content because nobody else wants this content to exist. I think we have a rogues gallery of people gunning for us. Which people would be surprised because we're so small. And it's no, we're on several alphabet lists, and I have a personal fan club among academic feminists. So there you go. Anyway, if you want to make sure that our voice isn't silenced by a rogues gallery, go to feedthebadger.com/support and put a few shekels in the hat because we continue due to your beneficence and generosity. So feedthebadger.com/justthetip to send us a message, feedthebadger.com/support to support us, although both do. Fair, And if you want to join us in our community, that's badgernation.online. And all of these items are in the low bar as well. So choose one. Select. All right, let's do this.
All right, let's do this. So this is from the New York Times. Go on, date your coworkers. This is a guest essay. What?
No.
No.
Yeah. Well, no. I don't mean I don't mean that as like I'm coming for that position of feminist. Like, oh my God, if a man who I haven't pre-approved, who my chaperone hasn't given my calling card to, approaches me, my reputation will be ruined, and thus he should be drawn and quartered for the audacity. I'm not coming from that kind of perspective. I'm just like, I think you're asking a lot, right? In this landscape, especially from somebody who I bet is a feminist. So she promotes making the landscape even more hostile and toxic to men. I don't know how much more it could get, considering we're now on the third generation of regarding heterosexuality as the site of female oppression. But I'm sure they can ratchet it up further, make it even more toxic. And she is advising men to just go for it. Uh, I'm going to go and I'm going to confirm that the author of this article is a feminist, but I suspect, because she is writing for the New York Times.
Well,
I
yeah, she is a
suspect.
guest writer on the New York Times. I think she lives
Yes.
in New York.
Yes.
But yeah,
So
go ahead.
she's either feminist or she's a lesbian separatist. One or the other. Not a lesbian
Mm-hmm.
separatist because she probably wants to date men. But regardless, I'm guessing that her politics lean that way. So yeah, I would say you are the one setting out the caltrops. And then you're also the one saying, hey, man, why don't you trot through these spikes of doom towards me? It's a mixed message. I was going to say a missed message.
Yeah.
I don't think I can recover that one. So let's just get a little bit more.
All right,
Let's
let's
start.
start.
Yeah.
Yeah, how about we start the article?
Yes.
All
Start.
right, by Juno Kelly. Mrs. Kelly writes about internet culture. All right. Last year, I developed an office crush. My friends warned me against doing anything about it, typically using a crude metaphor about keeping your eating space clean. Dating people you work with just seems like too much trouble these days. It's not that people aren't attracted to Jack and client relations with the smile lines and overzealous David Lynch obsession. It's that it feels as if the risk outweighs the reward. So, right there, first sentence, I developed an office crush. That tells you exactly what this is about, right? I mean, I've read the article, so I'm not going to like spoil anything. But do you see where this is going just based on that,
Yep.
Allison?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. She wants her office her office crutch to come
Crush.
hobbling over and crush, and say hi to her,
Mm-hmm.
and then she'll get the ick because I don't know, maybe his tie was too
Well,
fruity,
let's
in color,
no,
and
let's
then
keep going
no, all right, all right, all right, all
because
right. I
the
won't.
plot will thicken a little bit as it goes on.
Oh,
Okay, but a return to
did
office
she get permission
romance.
to have that crush?
No,
Don't you
no,
have
no,
to have
no.
permission to have a crush? No,
Not
okay.
if you're a woman. Not if you're a
I
woman.
hope she's not. I hope she's not looking at him in a lascivious manner, because I've been informed that that is objectification, and that is 100% destroys people's souls, right?
Yeah, it's like eating
It's like
them with
taking,
your eyes.
yeah, it eats their souls with your eyes. It's like the camera with certain
Hmm. The
Aboriginal
male
people.
gaze. Yeah.
If the camera takes a picture of you, your soul is trapped in the Polaroid for the rest of eternity. So I
Hmm.
don't know. She better be careful with those lascivious gazes. She might be
That's
putting
yeah.
people
Those are
into the
deadly
the
weapons.
Zod dimension. The Zod dimension,
The
like in
Phantom
the
Zone is what
the
you would.
mirror, the Phantom Zone.
It's
Yeah,
the
like the
Phantom
mirror
Zone.
shard.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Um.
All right.
Okay, I got a Rumble rant from Roboto 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, and he says, "Are lesbian separatists an issue?" Well, they're just feminists. Thank you, Roboto.
Yeah.
They're just
Well,
the
are they
more
an issue?
radical end. No, but you brought it up, so he's asking if they're an issue.
No, I'm just saying that there are like probably two categories of feminists in the world now. Or women, maybe conservative women, but they're generally feminist still.
Yeah, they
And then
are.
there are feminist women, and then there are lesbian separatists.
Yeah,
And yeah, that's about
there's
it.
very few outside of that. There's not a lot.
Yeah.
Um, but okay. So thank
Okay.
you for that. So let's continue with the article. But a return to office romance could be the solution to the sense many people have that modern dating is broken. I wonder what broke it. Dating apps ask us to consider potential romantic partners not as full human beings with a caffeine addiction and tension diffusing sense of humor, but as a set of optimized digital parameters. Okay? So we should like try to translate like the paragraphs, right? So first is so I developed an office crush. And my friend said it's probably not a good idea. And I guess like nobody does this at work anymore. No idea why that is, you know. And then in the next paragraph, she's like, "Yeah, it looks like dating apps. They just see you as like a checklist of optimized digital parameters, not a person with like warts and all. What a shame, right? Even though we've been
Let me
working with dating apps for a long time now. This is not news. Go ahead."
yeah. Well, finish off your
No, I'm not.
translation.
I'm not. I just read. I'm not trying to read it too much into it because I know how this goes. But I've said basically I'm
You don't want to give
translating
any spoilers.
her. Well, no, but I mean like what I'm seeing from this is she is criticizing dating apps, which suggests to me she doesn't like the way dating apps categorize her because she was talking about herself from the moment the article started, right? So when she
Mm.
says, dating apps are trash because they do this, this, and this, it's like, oh, so they're doing these things to you. That's why you don't like it.
Can,
You
can
know?
I offer an
Yeah.
interpretation?
Okay.
Um, okay, this guy, a workplace crush. So what does that mean? It means they've probably worked together. Okay.
Yeah, but
So
she likes
he's
him.
demonstrated some form. Yeah, just wait for it. She's demonstrated some form of a competence in her presence. He shows up every day, which is big for the furry hominid inside every human being that likes consistency. And probably what's actually happened is he has some kind of MHC compatibility with her. So that means if she's not on birth control, that means she can pick up the fact that his immune system is compatible with hers. It's going to offer more genetic diversity. And then the other thing is there probably is an aspect of kin selection. So he looks something like her relatives while being genetically distinct via the MHC compatibility. So this is what's happening. And I've read the subtitles. She says that offices are office romance or office placed humanizes people. Well, yes, it actually allows her to evaluate men on categories that are closer to the way her primordial, like little furry hominid ancestors would be evaluating their male partners or potential partners. So yeah, it's I'm not surprised that she's in a situation where she's starting to pick up that this might be a potential partner because the signs of said the signs that we would have evolved with are more prevalent there, whereas on an app all you do is have basically a spreadsheet. And I hate to tell you, but human beings didn't evolve to make their selection based on spreadsheets or numbers or still photos. We didn't evolve for those things. We evolved much more to make selection based on the things that you find in an office, right? So yeah, I totally get she's got a crush on this guy. She's done some deeper, more of the limbic system analysis of him. So it's probably gearing into something for her. But that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Because why should he go up to her, even if she's attracted to him, and risk his job in a workplace that she no doubt advocated creating the hazards, right? I'm going to confirm that. I don't know. I don't know this woman from Adam. I've just gone through the first paragraph with Brian. But
Yeah.
really, so bad, so sad, lady. You have access to an attraction level that's more authentic and earthy and human. But I'm sorry, you guys decided that you didn't want that. That's not what you wanted. That you didn't want men approaching you in the workplace, right? So suffer. Sorry, right? And
Yeah.
you do not like that in this entire regime, there is no clear way for men to approach. And there's no soft landing, and there's not much upside. Right? So, I mean, I find this really interesting because if I'm right, we are going to see an increase in this kind of thing from women who are in a situation where they're exposed to men and are experiencing more of the more primordial attraction factors rather than the bullshit we've applied on with the dating apps and the hookup bars, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then nothing is going to happen because he's not going to risk his job. And for him, that's a bigger risk than it is for her. Because if he loses his job, he often loses a good source of his self-esteem, his social life, and his ability to actually support himself and keep himself off the streets. That's starting to get to be a big ask. And really, what does he get in return from approaching her? I mean, this woman is obviously interested in him, so maybe it will result in a date if she doesn't have some kind of brain fart and she just decides something about him just gave her the ick the instant he approached, which is a big problem, guys. Like this, I can explain why that happens. Why a woman might be attracted to a man and him coming over and actually expressing an interest in her might spark an ick. It's because the whole concept of being in the feminist framework, because heterosexuality is the site of female oppression, the idea of being selected by a man becomes a negative, a form of degrading, like being degraded. So it may not even be him that's creating the ick. It may be the fact, just the generic fact of a man going over and expressing a sexual interest in a woman that creates an ick. I don't know how we're going to get over that particular hill as a species, right? If just a man going over to a woman and saying hi is now has a high probability of making her want to vomit because he's just treated her with utter contempt. I don't know how we're going to square that circle as a species. I guess we're just going to die because we can't actually get rid of the people who keep pushing it. But that's how it happens. That's how just approaching a woman who's interested in you can become an ick. And I'm pretty sure that when I say this, there's probably guys who are like, oh yeah, that makes sense because they've been in this situation. But maybe I'm wrong. Like I'm just coming at this from first principles, just applying feminist logic or illogic to the process of human mating. And every time I do that, it just seems to get worse and more ugly and more deteriorated and more demonic. But, like if I'm wrong, if this hasn't happened to you, or if this is not something that you sense, then just tell me. But I'm just saying that this seems to be a failure mode. And it becomes more of a problem when your job is on the line. And what does a man get out from approaching this woman? Even if she likes him, she might generate a spontaneous ick just because of the situation, like the gestalt of the relationship between men and women that they exist within, how it's all framed. She might just get the ick randomly just because he approached, right? And then what if she isn't interested in him? And she actually is one of those women who believes that men shouldn't approach until they've gotten permission to approach, right? Okay, well then he's he's just set himself up for a ruined life. So you got the best case outcome is she actually doesn't do the female thing and then flips into some sort of squealing mess because a man approached her and feminism says that annihilates the woman's self,
Mm-hmm.
and she manages to navigate those shoals, those feminist rocks, and she manages to actually hold on to his attraction to him despite feminists trying to destroy it, right? And then she says yes. They date for however long, maybe 1 in a billion they have a relationship, right? And the bad, which is equally likely, that's the thing, guys. The bad is probably equally likely as the good, is she loses her ever living fucking shit. And he loses his job because he just harassed her. And then there's the gigantic sort of middle ground where you get maybe a neutral no from the woman, and then you move on with your lives, and you have to sit by this 10 feet from this woman awkwardly for however long you work there, right? All the way to she doesn't talk to HR, but she tells all her friends about you. She floats rumors. You become person non grata, like something below actually losing your job or whatever else. And below, no, not quite that bad, but still bad, right? So this is this nice large spectrum. Am I getting this wrong? Like, I'm a woman, right? I'm just going from first principles and my ability to actually intuit how some other people experience things. I'm also a writer. That's like my stock and trade.
Yeah.
So I'm just like walking through this in my mind and expressing what I'm seeing. If I'm wrong, guys, just tell me. Like, am I not coming out of completely order? Like, I'm coming from nowhere. But anyway, that's what I see. So she's asking because she has developed this interest. And she can't get her ass up, right? And walk over to him and be like, "Hey," right? That's not possible. She's just and I assume that's not possible because she's just throwing out this suggestion into the ether. "Hey, why don't you approach?"
Yeah.
"Well, why don't you approach?" Like, so I'm assuming that she's saying men approach women in the workplace. I assume that's what her thesis is. Okay, I'm done. I'm settled down. I've gone back to
No,
my
it's fine.
box. I'm in my
Okay.
kennel. I'm under my
Um,
blankie.
all right. I do want to read more of the article, but I got a
Yes.
rumble rant from Roboto again for $1, and he says, spreadsheets and charts, very traditional for modern ladies in the West. Incredibly romantic with dating apps for the ladies. Not all. Thank you for that. Okay. Let's do some more reading of this. Only 16% of U.S. workers went on a date with a colleague last year, down from about 40% in 2009. So in 2009, between there and today, this went down, what, by like a third? More than a third? Or two-thirds, sorry, more than two-thirds. Workplace crushes, a surefire way to inject excitement into office mundanity, have waned too, with the share of workers reporting one collapsing from 49% in 2024 to just 22% in 2025, according to a human resources industry group survey. The decline has been in decades of the making. While about 1/5 of adults over 50 met their partners at work, only 13% of those 18 through 29 say the same. So this is interesting too. They're saying 1/5 of adults over 50, so people who are like Gen X or older, like my age, met their partners at the job. That's 1/5, which is like 20%. And this dropped down to 13% but in the age groups of 18 to 29. Not a massive dip, but you can see that the young people are not doing it as much. And of course, they're in that age range, 18 to 29, where you're probably more likely to engage in workplace romance than if you're in your 50s. Of course, workplace romance was always fraught with its legacy of predatory bosses, favoritism, and, when things go wrong, career retaliation. Years of sexual harassment training and more watchful human resources departments taught us not to go there. About a quarter of workers now fear harassment allegations, one industry survey found. So, she tells you why this is happening in that paragraph. When she says, well, we have always had a legacy of predatory bosses, favoritism, and career retaliation. So that's like a thing. And then she says, years of sexual harassment training and more watchful human resources departments taught us not to go there. And then goes on to say, about a quarter of workers now fear harassment allegations. What do you mean by workers? Do you mean men? Because that's, and then of course one industry survey found, I think I opened up the, I did, I have the link, I sent you this too, Alison. This is from the Vault, the 2018 Vault Office Romance Survey results, where they found that, since MeToo, like no one's approaching anyone, specifically men. Men are not approaching women at work. and it's dropped like a lot. So
Mm. Yeah, okay,
they,
so she doesn't identify as a feminist. The piece runs on feminist register vocabulary, predatory boss legacy, unambiguous consent, women and underrepresented minorities as most vulnerable and disproportionately punished. What the hell?
yep,
Yeah. Um, and she's definitely in the progressive cultural commentary milieu, right?
mm-hmm.
So she does not identify as a feminist, but I really doubt she does not swim in the same waters, shall we say.
No, 100%. She
Okay.
I think she is a feminist, but just not an activist. Like, she is not active, but she has basically internalized the normie feminist position, which is the average person's view as well. So, like, the idea that, yeah, sexual harassment was a problem, like, that's an example, right? Like, a problem that was deserving of, like, massive, say, policy overhauls in the workplace, like HR departments getting men fired, or getting people fired because they made somebody else uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Which is
So
actually a thing. Like, I remember looking
yeah,
at this in like 2001 or 2003 probably. They actually made it just if a woman feels uncomfortable. It's astounding. Okay. They
mm-hmm,
changed the criteria for harassment. All right, continue,
yeah.
Brian.
Yeah, I got another Roboto's Rumble rant for 2. Thank you, Roboto. And he says, if men don't get called in to HR at the corporation, how are men to get the label of bad boy at the office job? All right. So yeah, she's like laying out the groundwork. Like, yeah, all this stuff was necessary. It's sort of like saying, oh, the Me Too was a good thing. It had to happen, right? But where else in adulthood except the office would you bond with the potential paramour you share so much of everyday life with? Many of my friends' parents met at work. So did Barack and Michelle Obama, who met while working at the same law firm in 1989. And pop culture has long endorsed office romance too. From Sam and Diane in Cheers to Jim and Pam in The Office, to more recently Mark and Helly in Severance, love and lust usurp professionalism every time. It's weird to bring up fictional TV shows as a way of justifying real life office romances, but here we are, as usual. Mad Men, which unflinchingly depicts what workplace romance and harassment can look like at its worst, still showed Peggy ending up with her colleague Stan at the show's conclusion. So again, she doesn't care about like whether or not a show like Mad Men, which is supposedly like telling you something about life in the '60s, whether or not that's true, which it's not. We've gone over it, and the novel that the show is based on is also like different from the final result of the show. It doesn't matter though, because women like her are like, yeah, sexual harassment's real, it's bad, and this show shows it. That's how I know it's true, because I saw it on this fictional TV show. And therefore, this is how I know workplace romance is good, because they depict it on TV shows, so it works. Like the main character, like the guy from The Office, he didn't get called into HR and lose his job. You see, so therefore you can do this because it happened in The Office. Anyway, workplace romance offers promising levels of success. More than 40% of people who date a colleague end up marrying them, according to one survey. As young people struggle to meet one another, form relationships, or even have sex, dating our colleagues could be a viable solution to the loneliness crisis and sex recession. Meeting at work forces people seeking romance to get to know each other platonically first. Seeing a potential partner's true colors under stress and how that person behaves around people he or she is not attracted to can also be telling. Okay, so all that sounds fine. Like, yeah, I think it's true that a lot of people meet people at a place where they're frequently at, like whether it's work or school or college, or whatever. Like if you're always at a place, like say you're always going to like, I don't know, a homeless shelter to help out, and volunteer, and there's like other people who are volunteering. You might meet someone there, right? It's in an environment where you're around the same people all the time. Then yeah, that's likely to happen. You're likely to make friends that way and potentially romantic interest that way, or like partners. But again, after Me Too, we've made that impossible, basically, at least like mostly impossible, and men are not doing it because it's too dangerous, it's too risky for them. So, um, okay. A lot of the problems with the apps our love lives now hinge on, pun intended, fall by the wayside in the office too. When you're bumping into someone by the coffee maker every morning, in-person interaction and accountability prevail over digital strategy. The impunity with which someone might treat a stranger met on an app or even in a bar cannot comfortably coexist with guaranteed daily interaction and myriad mutual connections. The workplace ironically humanizes us, at least when compared with dating apps. I don't know how that's ironic. Like, are you not human when you're at your job? But anyway. Um, The slow burn surreptitiousness of keeping the romance secret can also bond you to a person. Hadrian Chatelet and Lucy Werner, a couple who met while working in a London-based office 13 years ago, told me about the excitement of staggering their entrances to the office after sleeping at each other's houses, of kicking each other under the desk, and of getting more personal in the doorless kitchen at the back. Working all day while waiting to just sneak into a bar or something and be able to be more intimate, Mr. Chatelet told me, brought excitement to the early days of their relationship. That's a common thought. More than 90% of people who have had sex with a colleague did not regret it. So she's like laying out all of this like groundwork, right? She's pointing out things that are actually unethical. Like, well, it's frowned on in the workplace, which is to like, you know, fool around with someone at work when you're supposed to be on the clock doing work. You know, they're sneaking off somewhere, or they like tease each other or whatever. I'm not saying you can't do it, but she's taking these things that would normally get a man in a lot of trouble, and she's treating them like they're kind of like these delightful little, you know, like fun things, kind of exciting to do at work, like, oh, we're going to get caught, you know. But she's also not like connecting with why this isn't happening, which has everything to do with how much risk there is, you know, for men, that is, specifically.
Oh, yeah. And she's probably citing men and women who had romances decades ago. Well,
her one example is from
honestly,
before. Yeah, go ahead.
She said what she's talking about sounds like a lot of fun. It sounds like it's very satisfying. You know, I did a long rant on how this is a much more of the primordial way that men and women developed an interest in each other, would have been working alongside each other. You know, and also like she even mentioned the things that I mentioned, that the guy's showing up every day, you get a sense of who he is, which is another thing we used to be able to do. And it tends to create a much more solid and a deeper bond. And you're selecting not just on does he fuck good, but you're also you're selecting on things like how he treats other people, how he treats other men, which can be pretty critical, even though women ignore it. How he treats women who, you know, the older the older ladies in the office. How does he treat them? You get a much more clearer perception of his personality. You know, it's a far superior way to meet a man, a potential male partner,
versus a dating app for sure.
Versus a dating, like unbelievably superior. It's like the difference between being able to play your games on like a 4K OLED screen with perfect black versus playing your game on one of those radioscope things that they used in like the 60s. I don't know, like the original just a bunch of like LED lights on a mainframe. Play a game of Pong. Like the dating app is far inferior. It's terrible. It's an awful way to meet people. And in particular, it removes all of the ways that you'd actually vet a person, knowing how they treat other people, knowing how they deal with stress. She mentioned all of this. She's quite accurate. It's all very superior. And it does sound like a workplace romance would be really exciting, ladies. Oh my God, that sounds like something out of a romantic comedy. Just incredible. Very, very exciting.
Yeah.
Very something that you would remember for the rest of your life, as opposed to exchanging spreadsheets
Swiping
on a
left,
dating app.
swiping right on
Yeah,
somebody. Yeah.
yeah. It sounds romantic. It has like a moment of almost like a faded quality to it. So much better. Too bad you decided to not do it anymore. Like you just too bad you decided to close that off to you. Like I mean, that's I mean, that was your decision, ladies. It's too bad. You don't get this anymore. And you don't deserve it anymore because you chose not to have it. Because you never walked through this entire scenario through men's point of view. Nor did you even acknowledge the fact that men have to deal with their own unwanted sexual attention at work too, but they don't commonly complain about it. Right? Like men have to deal with all of the same things that women have to deal with. The difference is they don't get anywhere to complain about it. So what happened is MeToo ignored male victims, focused like a laser on only male perpetrators, created an even worse asymmetry in how male sexuality, male sexual approach is treated versus female sexuality and sexual approach, which is probably partially implicated with the millennial shift. Again, for those of you who are just tuning in, the millennial shift is, well, how to describe it? Younger women are the rapinest people on the planet. They don't understand that it's possible for a woman to rape. Women of my generation, Generation X, we sort of understand that. I mean, I thought my generation was bad, but apparently we're not. We understand that men can say no, and that no should be respected. If you're a young woman, you don't understand that. That's like patriarchy or something. Like a man saying no to me, that's privilege. Right? That's the landscape. Me Too is complicit in that. And creating that landscape and presenting sexual assault as something that only men do to women. So there was no actual kindness, no compassion, no understanding for the male position, either as a victim or as somebody who has to go out and take the risks to give you that wonderful, wonderful workplace romance, that satisfying ability to vet your partner by how he behaves. You know, that whole Michelle and Barack Obama romance, and where she got to see how he behaved, and they developed an attraction. Yeah, you don't get that anymore, ladies, and you don't deserve it. So, too bad. So sad. Sounds really great, though. Like, it really sounds like, the workplace romance of the past is like a delicious ribeye steak.
Yeah.
And now you get a bunch of pre-chewed gray ground beefoid. There you go, ladies. Now you get some mystery meat from the cafeteria instead. Enjoy. You chose it. Okay. I mean, she can go on and on about how wonderful it was. But she and her female friends, maybe not her, but definitely the women that she likely runs with as a contributor to Vogue and a part of the London cultural scene. Yeah, you chose this. I do not feel
Yep.
bad for you. Suffer. And yeah, men don't owe it to you to square this circle, to thread this needle. So you have to just deal with the fact that steak is permanently off the menu, and now you get some kind of soy mystery meat instead. And you have no one else to blame but yourselves, lady.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
All right. Back to the article. So, the slow burn surreptitiousness of keeping the romance secret can... Oh, no, I already read that. Dating a colleague does come with unsexy risks, too. It can be a distraction, ignite workplace gossip, and grow uncomfortable if things sour. Workplace dynamics are also primed for power imbalances, harassment, and coercion, especially if one party is the other's superior. You're talking about men again, but you're not saying men. Because I don't think a man would have a problem dating a female who was had like a higher position, no pun intended. Um, I think that like it's often because feminism doesn't define a female boss and a male employee as
No, they
a
don't.
power dynamic that is needs to be deconstructed, right?
Well,
They
I
only
mean,
see it
let
when
me
it's a
stop you
male
there.
boss. Yeah, go ahead.
Let me stop you there. Feminism doesn't define a female and a male anything in the same way as it defines, like, literally, there is a very large branch of feminism, very influential, that just simply says that women can't consent because men are so powerful in the patriarchy, right?
Hmm.
So you don't even need to go with men as the boss. It's just men, period. And you'll see this in how they describe, for example, female prison guards taking advantage of male inmates. And yes, it is taking advantage of them because there's very few relationships with more power asymmetry than a jail, like a prison guard and an inmate. Like, the prison guard determines whether or not, for example, you end up in solitary confinement. And they manage to turn these relationships into the male inmates, exploiting the female prison guards. Astounding, isn't it? So what am I supposed to take from that? Well, first of all, it is a direct inheritance of this whole feminist conjecture that women can't consent at all, ever, right? But it's also an indication that women have the minds of juveniles, right? If they're in a position of power and they're being exploited by the people or the men that they have complete power over, what are you to take from that? One, obviously, it's inherited from feminist beliefs about women being unable to consent due to patriarchy. And two, we honestly think that women do not have adult minds, right? But we still insist on putting them in positions of power, despite the fact we don't view them as having adult minds. Isn't that interesting? Anyway, I
Yeah.
just wanted to correct you on that, Brian, because you're like, oh, a male in power over a woman. It's like, even if it's a woman in power, they still think that she's being taken advantage of because they have the most twisted and, frankly, like, the psychotic Puritan attitudes towards male sexuality. Like, they have attitudes that you only see with, like, extreme ascetic Christians, maybe,
Hmm.
right? I'm not talking like general Christian. I'm like the ones that everybody sort of said go away in, like, the second century. Those guys, right? It's like the ones that were like, yeah, we need to actually make little humans. Could you please just leave us, like, disappear? Those guys. The ones who think that the world is created by some evil creature and that sex makes more of people who are imprisoned in it. Yeah, that is the strain that feminism comes from. And even the positive, the so-called sex positive feminism is trying to have hot ice by simply saying sex is positive. Well, the woman's half of sex is positive. The man's half of sex is still negative. How that comes out to be sex is positive when half of it is negative, I don't know. And also, men's half is really, really negative. So it should always be under suspicion of doing something, being up to something that should send the man to jail. So I don't know, if you like add a positive number to a larger negative number, you generally end up with a negative number. So I don't know how a female, like, feminist sex positivity works. It seems more like, at best, it's sex neutrality. But anyway, I'm just
Yeah.
saying, like, go ahead.
No, nothing. Go ahead.
I have nothing more to say.
Okay.
I
All
have
right.
run myself into the ground. I
All right.
apologize, guys. I don't even know
No,
where
it's
the
all
hell I
right.
am
It's
now.
okay.
I think we're talking about workplace romance.
Yeah,
Okay.
we are. All right. In the workplace, rules that should apply to dating more generally are more critical than ever. Respectful, gentle approaches are paramount, as is proceeding further only with proceeding further only with unambiguous consent and clear reciprocation. Lateral dating is always going to be a safer bet than an unequal power dynamic. And people who are most vulnerable to retaliation or sexism, especially women and underrepresented minorities, may still have more to lose by risking in-office romance and may be disproportionately punished for it. They might be disproportionately punished, guys. So you already see the reason why she is experiencing this issue because she has a crush on a guy at work and wants him to approach her at some point or be the one, right? She wants that to happen, but she can't do it, and she doesn't think she thinks it's because, well, obviously something is wrong, but she's okay with what's wrong because she said lateral dating is always going to be safer than unequal power dynamics. So she's not, so she knows unequal, she has to like pay lip service to the unequal power dynamic. She has to pay lip service to the sexism and harassment at work, and she has to pay lip service to women and quote underrepresented minorities end quote, which just means women again, just like more women, I guess. And that those people, she's also reframing it as those are the people, the women, the people who don't have the power, and the underrepresented minorities are the ones that are going to be disproportionately punished for in-office romance. Who did the Me Too movement eliminate? Who was targeted by that? Was it women? Was it underrepresented minorities? Underrepresented being the key word here. Was it people that were like that had some authority? Was it men? Was it bosses? Was it people at a higher level? That and this is like setting aside whether or not any of the allegations are credible, because a lot of guys just lost their job because they just wanted them out. See Luke Weber, who's been on the show many times, who used to work for
Yeah.
various animation studios, and they got rid of him because he was an obstacle. And it just so happens that there was a union that was trying to put more women in positions of power, and the Me Too movement served that just fine. So, what are we talking about here? Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, what is she saying? She's obviously trying to make two contradictory ideas coexist in her brain at the same time. All right.
And this is why I say she deserves the situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? She's talking about how much better it is to have a workplace romance. Well, you can lament that on your own, lady. Like, you can lament that as much as you want, but you are creating the situation that killed it because you refuse to look at how it affected men. And again, I don't think that MeToo is legitimate in any capacity. If it was legitimate, it would have included male victims. And it would have included advocacy for men who have to deal with this kind of stuff too. It didn't. So it was
Yeah.
completely illegitimate. And again, it was just another push to demonize men. Well, you've demonized them. And you've demonized them to the point where you're no longer getting the thing that you found so romantic in the past. And I, for one, I feel bad for men because, they don't get partners either, but I don't feel bad for this woman. I think that she should spend every night of her life thinking about what she lost until all she has, is a cat and the fact that she will never retire because we financialized away the pension plan as a society. And honestly, when you say that Me Too was used to just get men out of jobs that women wanted or that they wanted women to get into, that doesn't surprise me at all. because changing the climate, the workplace, is the first step. Changing it towards positional signaling and in-group, out-group, and permanently putting men who generally are responsible for producing actual stuff, not just selling the symbols of stuff, which is financialization, which is the financial fatberg that I talk about constantly. You know,
Mhm.
marginalizing those people is an essential first step to actually creating a situation where you can pursue financial extraction, right? And you can start rent seeking off of needed services or products. So I'm not surprised. It always goes one way. And that way is
Yeah.
to marginalize the people who actually do the thing. People. Men. The men who actually do the thing. In favor of the ones who are just going to rent seek off of it, or rent seek off of DEI initiatives, DEI and ESG initiatives. Okay. All right,
All
let's keep
right.
going.
In the workplace, rules that should apply to dating more generally are more critical than ever. Respectful, gentle approaches. Already read that part, didn't I? Sorry. While a workplace romance can cause all kinds of problems, almost 2/3 of managers believe their teams benefited when colleagues dated, according to an industry survey. And despite some evidence of productivity declines, there's little to suggest that those who are infatuated with or heartbroken because of a colleague are less productive than those who are merely infatuated or heartbroken at the hands of someone else. While it can be messy, multiple women competed over my workplace crush, with one jokingly saying we should let the best woman win. It makes you want to show up for work and imbues getting dressed in the morning with giddy anticipation. Did you catch that? Should I read it again? Did you catch
No, I
that?
caught it.
Okay.
I caught it.
Let me just read it again for you guys that are watching because this is crucial and it exposes something else. She said here, okay, first of all, she says almost 2/3 of managers believe that their teams benefit when colleagues are dating, which makes sense, right? Because there's more anticipation and desire to go to work because you might see the person you're involved with there. And there was a study done that demonstrates this. Now, that sounds fine. Like I said, you may not want to date people you work with. And let's set aside the MeToo thing for a moment and even set aside the romance aspect of this. Because a lot of people make friends at their job too. In fact, I think that's actually more likely the case than the romance part. And in general, if you work with people you like, then you're probably going to be more productive. Especially if you all are like sort of aiming towards the same vision. So imagine you're working at a company where, maybe you were there at the ground level, maybe you knew the people involved, maybe you just care about what it is they're doing, you just want to help them succeed because you like it. And it's not just some like job where you're a drone sitting in a cubicle and you're completely disconnected from the people at the top. And I think that there's more of the former jobs than the latter. I think a lot of people focus on the latter, but I think that there's a lot of small businesses that are local that where they're doing good stuff and you want to work with them. Whether it's, I don't know, whatever it is. But like if you're going to work and I think that it's good that the people who work together like each other. And it seems like an obvious thing to say, but I think it's true. I think it's definitely good for business if the people who work there like each other, and if they get involved with somebody, potentially even better, assuming it works out. Because if it doesn't, then that's going to be bad. But then again, just like she said, if you were involved with somebody outside of work and it didn't work out, it's going to hurt your productivity as well, like it would anyone when their heart is broken. So all that is true. Now, the part that's really interesting is where she says, multiple women competed over my workplace crush, with one jokingly saying we should let the best one win. So what does that tell you? That tells you that the person that she had a crush on, a lot of other women also had a crush on. So this is more of this, most women going for the top man. And it just so happens that this guy works in this company, and there's all these women at the workplace that they all have their eyes on him. So the women who work here, they want to be able to approach or be approached, not necessarily approach. They want to be involved with a certain man that's at their workplace. and they are aware that he is not going to do anything, probably because of all of the stuff that HR and the MeToo movement has done, and they're lamenting that, but they're still saying, man, he should just do it. Like, they're trying to like figure out a way to, hopefully this guy sees it and he decides to like take a risk and go and ask a girl out or something. But they're not going to do it themselves. They're acknowledging that they're hypergamous and they're all going for like the same guy. And they're also acknowledging that the Me Too movement has made it basically unworkable for men to do this. In that one sentence, multiple women competed over my workplace crush. That tells you everything you need to know about where this woman's head is at, what it is that she wants, and why she wrote this article. In my opinion, anyways. So, I don't know if you want to say anything to that, Alison, or is that not a revelation that doesn't surprise you, or
What was the revelation again? Because I was looking at I actually pulled the comments. What was the revelation
the
again?
revelation
Tell me.
is that the guy she has a crush on is the same guy that a bunch of other people at her job also has a crush on.
Women, yeah.
So
Well,
she wants that guy to basically approach. She doesn't. I don't think she says it in this article, but she would like to live in a world where that guy feels like he could approach and that he will approach her. And she's trying to essentially lay out the case as to why, despite the fact that the Me Too movement and HR departments and harassment policies, all these things are absolutely good and necessary, but that guy should still ask me out anyways. Because I definitely won't get him fired, promise. But I'm not going to tell you to do it because I want you to make the first move. And he's not going to do it.
Yeah, that's not the world. Yeah, that's not the world I live in now.
No.
Sorry. Yeah,
No.
she can want it as much as she wants, but it's just not the world you live in now, lady. And
Yeah.
I think men already know this, and they're already withdrawing from making this stuff happen. Right? And I was actually thinking about this in terms of, there is the World Health Organization, the UN, has said that sexual satisfaction is a human right, of course, only for women. Like, I mean,
Oh
they
my
don't say
God.
explicitly like it's only for women, but of course, all their initiatives are only about making the consequences of pursuing sexual satisfaction for women disappear. And I was actually analyzing this, and I was thinking, the reason why the only thing that women have to concern themselves with in terms of paying for their sexual satisfaction is the consequences of sex is because men do everything else. They've basically provided a utility for women that women can access whenever they want, and they get no credit for it, right? And they don't even get recognition that they don't have access to the very utility that they provide for women, which is sexual access, right? Bonnie Blue would never be able to engage in her horrific demonic stunt if men didn't generally provide sexual access to women, just as a matter of course, right? Just like, yeah, you'll find a man who's interested, right? If you want that. Okay, so just as a matter of course, men provide this for women. And it's the only reason why women can then complain about the negatives of that access. Right? It's like only women get plumbing, water plumbed into their houses. So only they can complain that it's not working or their basement is flooded. Right? And nobody is talking about the fact of who provides that and what it means when men themselves don't get access to the very thing that they provide to women. Especially in the context of sexual satisfaction being a human right. I'm not sure why this popped up in my head, but it feels like she's occupying that frame. She's saying a workplace romance is sort of the same kind of thing. She has an entitlement to it or something, or is she just saying, "Oh, I miss it," which is, I guess, more defensible? But regardless, she's not considering all of the effort that went onto men to provide that for women. Like that whole romantic thing about Michael or Michelle. God damn. Sorry, guys. Michelle and Barack Obama, right? That whole romantic story about them.
Yeah.
Who provided that? Barack. Who made the effort? Who stepped up? Who threatened to leave his job if she didn't say yes? He did. Right? He was making the effort. This is men stepping up, providing a utility, making workplace romances possible for women. And then women complaining about the downside of this. Oh, the utility isn't delivered properly. My basement's flooded. I don't know. There's tree roots in the sewer outside. So whatever, right? All the negatives of this utility being delivered without ever recognizing who's delivering it in the first place or the situation under which they're expected to deliver it. Because now women are like, well, I don't know. Men should be able to deliver us running water while I don't know, running through or getting around my moat full of alligators. And they just keep upping the ante and making it more and more difficult for men to provide this thing, which they never even had any gratitude or understanding for in the first place. Because even even Barack Obama had to make an effort, had to risk rejection over and over again, apparently, right? He had to do that to make it happen. So even in the 80s, men were doing a hell of a lot of unrecognized labor, relationship labor, to even make these workplace relationships happen, completely unrecognized. So that's never put into the equation. It's always, oh, the utility wasn't delivered exactly to my specification, right? It wasn't quite what I wanted. It wasn't quite acceptable. It's always the negatives, never the huge amount of effort men had to put in. And they now have to put in while attempting to traverse the alligator-filled moat of HR that feminists and women decided they wanted to dig and fill and say, no, now you need to do this for us. Not only did you have to run the field of rejection and effort, now you got to do it while vaulting the alligator pit. It's like, what do you like? And if this is the problem, if men figure out how to vault the alligator pit, the women will deploy the venomous snake field. And then when men figure out how to wiggle through the venomous snake field, women will deploy the giant wall of spikes covered in intestine melting acid. And they'll just keep upping the fucking ante. And why are they why are they upping the fucking ante? Because feminism has told them that being selected by a man is self-annihilation. So there's this constant frickin' arms race between men's effort, which understandably they're just like, yeah, no, this is far too much, ladies. Now we walk away. And women's own neuroticism, this spark of neuroticism started by feminism with this whole heterosexuality is the site of female oppression. Therefore, a relationship with a man is self-annihilation. And if you choose it, you're a fool. That's the thing, right? If a woman chooses a relationship with a man, she's a pick-me. And what's a pick-me? A gigantic fool who's been taken advantage of by that horrible other half of the human race that we need to actually produce more of ourselves. Doesn't matter. She's a fool. So it's better to be a conquest than a fool. So it's better to be claimed by a man who's willing to ford the alligator moat, despite you putting it out, ladies, being like, I don't want you. And then he fords the alligator moat, and they're like, oh, I really don't want you. So you deploy the field of venomous snakes, and he manages to get through that. Oh, I hate you so much. Don't touch me. So you get the gigantic wall of spikes covered in intestine melting acid, and he manages to get through that because he's a frickin' stalker named Jacob with a gigantic surveillance company, which he got from a government grant, and he deployed only to stalk Nadine. Oh, God. You guys don't know that reference. It's a feminist stalker porn romance.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the fantasy, is that women get to be claimed and they never have to choose a man, because choosing a man is being complicit with your own oppression, and only fools do that. And I swear to God, if we keep this bullshit alive, we're going to be back to like Helen of Troy, where a man has to actually kidnap a woman to marry her. And it'll be because of feminists. Feminists increasing like this arms race between men's willingness to do this crap and women upping the ante over and over and over again, because they are insecure about choosing a man. Because if they choose a man, that means they're complicit with their own oppression and a fool. So really, we're all evolving. This culture is evolving towards rapine. Let's return. Not return to monkey, it's return to rapine. The opening salvo for a man will be kidnapping a woman. And I swear to freaking God, the feminists will finally shut up. I mean, as a woman, I mean, I'm sort of out of the whole thing, but I don't know if that would suit me. But I've always enjoyed autonomy. Feminists seem to find it a source of existential horror. But anyway, let's continue with this.
I
went on another
seriously
rant.
don't. I seriously don't think they're gonna shut up. But okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it won't be
I'm
enough
pressing X to
kidnapping.
doubt on that one. They're not going to shut up.
It
Whatever
won't be
happens,
enough.
no, they'll just blame some.
Men
They'll just
can't
blame
do
men
enough
again.
to free them.
No.
Men can't do enough to free them from the horrors of freedom. Even
Yes.
kidnapping them won't be sufficient. They'll have to
All
put them as a brain in a jar or something. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Almost everyone is frustrated with app-mediated romance. Dating a coworker is not a surefire fix, but it's certainly worth a shot. We never should have given a blanket warning against dating our colleagues. Doing so asks us to repress our humanity. My office crush may not have worked out, so he didn't ask her out, is what she's saying. He asked somebody else out, maybe. Or he met somebody on a dating app. My office crush may not have worked out, but it brought joy and human connection to a space so often devoid of it. Many office romances do. Risky and naughty as falling for a colleague can be, it's also organic and inevitable. So, okay, again, let's go back over this. So she says, almost everyone is frustrated with app-mediated romance. Okay, that's true. I know that's true for men, for sure. Then she says, we never should have been given a blanket warning against dating our colleagues. So the calls for something to be done about sexual harassment in the workplace that basically created HR departments. You know that the HR thing, I think it like exploded in the 90s, and feminism was at like a peak at that point too. Like we were experiencing a lot of politically correct, cultural enforcement, I guess, or nudging. I wonder if there isn't a connection between these things. Because, I mean, politically correct just means don't make women feel uncomfortable. That's all it means. And one of the things that can make women feel uncomfortable a lot is a man who is unworthy talking to a woman. I mean, that's it. Like, it doesn't matter what he would say. It's just that if she finds him icky and he talks to her, she can basically say that he's harassing her. And she is basically like, man, that was probably not a great idea. But y'all did it. Anyway, so she's basically making the defense that, well, it's organic and defense is inevitable. In the midst of a backlash against our tech-induced culture of optimization, ease, and productivity, it's time we recognize that love cannot be repressed for the sake of a profit-first environment. Now she's blaming corporations for the environment that she likely helped create, for the climate of men not talking to women at work because they don't want to lose their job. From the MeToo movement getting men fired who weren't actually asking women out or harassing them at work. They were just an obstacle that was blocking a woman's potential career. And she said, well, let's get rid of him. And now she's saying, no, this isn't because of us. This isn't because of HR departments or feminist, ideas about the ways that men and women relate to each other. This has nothing to do with that. It's everything to do with, it's corporations that are the problem. It's corporations. That's why people are not dating, because corporations are interested in optimizing profits. Completely out of left field, by the way. Completely irrelevant.
What?
Because that's what she said. She said, in the midst of a backlash against our tech-induced culture of optimization, ease, and productivity, it's time we recognize that love cannot be repressed for the sake of a profit-first environment. So
that is the most retarded. Well, I mean, yeah, but the thing is, the profit first is the using feminism as a firewall to create an extraction regime. Now that's a bit more rarefied. That's something that I'm sure any person who's just wandered in is like, what the heck is she talking about? But essentially, it's the moral busybodies providing cover for the robber barons. So the robber barons never have to sleep because they rob with full benefit of their conscience, full absolution of their conscience. Right? So that's the situation. That feminists are the busybodies, giving cover to the robber barons. And then the casualty of all of this is pair bonding, as men who actually are interested in having a relationship with a woman, being able to jump all these hurdles that HR has created. And of course, she's situating it in a profit mode. Is there a point where corporations, like in the past, didn't want to profit? I will criticize corporations for profiting off of financialization, stock buybacks, Fed backstopping, all of this kind of chicanery. But I'm pretty sure that corporations have wanted to profit. I mean, these forms of profiting, I look at scans at, but for most part, corporations have wanted to profit since corporations began. I'm pretty sure companies definitely wanted to profit since companies began. The concept of that began. Why would suddenly now corporate profit be anti-love? No, I know exactly what she's doing. She's just signaling in the relational web. It doesn't have to make sense. There doesn't have to be a causal connection. She's just signaling against the bad guys that her relational web agrees are all bad. The very profit motive C-suite, who probably was the guy that all these women were drooling over, let's be honest.
What, the boss?
Oh, man. Yeah, well, I mean, what did she say? The man that they all wanted? There was a bunch of them that wanted him?
Yeah, it was the same guy.
You
It was
really
like
think
all of her,
Yeah.
the one that she had a workplace crush on. A bunch of other women also had a workplace crush on.
Yeah. Do you think that was Steve from accounting,
I don't know.
or like Chad from
Oh no, yeah, this is the
the
last paragraph.
C-suite?
Yeah.
All right. Well, okay.
Well, again, she doesn't want to blame the MeToo movement, sexual harassment policies, human resources, or like the feminist ideology that backs and sort of supports all of that. So she just says this generic like, "Oh, it's because corporations are chasing profits." No, it's.
I said,
she even said
it could
earlier
work.
She even said earlier in the article that many bosses think that when people are close to people they work with, their productivity goes up. So if it was about that, then they wouldn't create that. This would not be an obstacle. Like there wouldn't be these obstacles, right? So it's because of HR departments and the Me Too movement and basically the feminist idea about male behavior.
Why does she think it suddenly happened after those things? Or got worse since HR?
Well,
got worse after Me Too.
She's not acknowledging it. She's pretending like she's trying to basically make excuses for it. That's what it is. She's making an excuse for the environment that she created.
Okay, what I'm trying to get at is she's not wrong that it is corporate profit. It's just she's missing a whole bunch of steps.
Yeah, because, but I think that the way you arrived at that and the way she's arriving at that are completely different. She just saying the
We are
same
not the
answer that
same.
you're saying. No, no, not at all.
We're not the
You're
same.
no, it's not even close. She is making a very generic, normie, like NPC talking point statement. My corporations, my profits, my repressing humanity. You're talking about something else entirely, and it's not. And again, it's not as if every corporation is doing that. In fact, it's probably most of them are not. But she is making a generic blanket statement because she's trying to, as you say, signal. But it's also to run cover for her and her people's worldview, because that's what made this. Because again, she establishes she's a feminist in the article. She said earlier, "Oh, I think Me Too movement's good.
So
Oh, I think sexual harassment's bad. Oh, I think power dynamics are bad. Oh, I think that historically it's always been worse for women and marginalized people. Oh, it's all of this like laying out the groundwork, like all this land acknowledgement stuff, and then at the end." And she even says, well, here's actually, it's like she's trying to convince some people that she would otherwise hate her for suggesting that men should approach women at work again. So she's like, well, let's look at the data. Well, I mean, these guys say that, if you meet somebody at work, it actually could be really good for the two of you and for the company you work at too. So, maybe we made a mistake when we basically laid out this giant blanket statement that men should never approach women at work ever under any circumstances. I think, well, maybe we went a little bit too far with that. I mean, look, I'm totally behind what Me Too did. I think it's fantastic. And I hate sexism at work. I hate it like way more than anybody here in the room does. I'm really against that stuff. And I really think that, we should definitely, I believe in equality and equal pay. And she might as well have listed off all the feminist talking points that she wants for women. But then she's like, but can we have men, can we let the guy I have a crush on approach me without you guys firing him? Oh, he didn't want me anyway. But you know what? I still believe that this is probably a good thing if it weren't for those pesky corporations and their profits.
Cyril Sneer, everyone.
Yeah.
Cyril Sneer is stopping this woman's crush.
So that's what I'm saying. I know that you have a certain you see this from your own research and where it has came up. But you must understand, Alison, you're the only person that has that view. No one else writing articles is going to land there. If they criticize corporations, even if their answer sounds the same as yours, it's not the same. They're just laying out these very safe, it's the safest thing. You can just say, I hate Nazis. No one's going to say, that's bad, you shouldn't do that. They're saying the same thing. Corporations be greedy. Everyone's just like, yup. No questions asked, no nuance. Oh, that you know what? That explains everything. Everything about Me Too and the harassment and guys getting fired and entire departments shutting down because a bunch of men lost their job and they gave it all to women because a union got involved and the union was like, we need 50% representation of women, but if we have more than 50%, that's okay too. And that just happened all over the country. And they're like, yeah, but corporations. Greedy corporations. Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is.
Yeah,
don't think about it too much. Don't think about it too much.
Brian, you have this. My trains have been mentioned.
I know. But I'm just telling you that if you say these people are right.
Mentioned trains, sir.
Oh my God, I'm surrounded by them.
It's gonna pull out of the station. It's gotta. All right.
I'm just saying that if you say
she's not wrong. She's not wrong. She has arrived at it through the most convoluted relationally webbed retardation possible. But there is an argument to be made that it was indeed corporate profits that ruined the workplace. And I will make it now before everybody starts lighting their pitchforks. All right, I'm not talking about corporations that actually produce a product. I'm talking about corporations who are in the process of financializing what's left of the productive layer, right? So engaging in stock buybacks, engaging in investment from like these gigantic ESG and DEI funders and all that kind of other stuff. There is a argument to be made that they used feminism as a firewall to exclude any voice in the room that would say something like, we can't sell 400 paper ounces of silver, we can only secure 1 ounce of the metal. Any voice like that who automatically looks at the symbol of the thing and sees the substrate behind it, such as in the waterline test, okay? So you look at a drawing of a glass. So this is the waterline test. It's basically 2 drawings. One is a drawing of a glass, very simple drawing of a glass on a desk with a blue line indicating the water level, which is horizontal to the bottom of the page and the desk that it's on. And then there's another drawing of the same water glass tilted 45 degrees. And the test is you draw a blue line where the water level is. Now, men pass this test for the most part. There's a few men who seem to struggle with it, but for the most part, men pass this test. They will draw the water line horizontal to the ground, to the table, because they understand gravity. There is a not insignificant number of women who cannot pass this test, and they will draw the water line not horizontal to the table that the glass is resting on, but parallel to the bottom of the glass when the drawing of the glass is tilted 45 degrees from the table. If you understand, if you can visualize this. All right.
Yeah.
And the reason why they do that is because when you present them with the symbol of the thing, they think that is the thing. Okay. So you present them with the symbol of the thing and they're like, oh, there's no further to go. And if you tilt that symbol, then it's simply just the symbol tilted. But if you show this to a man, he is going to look at the symbol of the thing and say, this is a representation of a system that exists underneath the symbol, right? And when you manipulate the object that this symbol represents, the waterline changes. Thus, I have to illustrate the updated system in this symbol, right? So the system updates, the waterline continues to be horizontal to the ground, but 45 degrees to the container, and he draws that because he understands that the symbol needs to be updated according to the substrate. It's not just the thing. It doesn't stop there. It's just the symbol. But you see how that getting a whole bunch of people in a room who don't see beyond the symbol really facilitates an economy that's entirely about the manipulation of symbols. And if you have some dude walk into that room and he sees beyond the symbol and says, hey, you are selling 400 symbols of something that you only have one of, that seems slightly unethical. That guy would really be raining down on the parade of all of the financialization extractors in the room. See, like you get the guy, the guy from the shop, the guy from the line, and he just walks in, the guy from the refinery, he walks in and he's like, you got 400 symbols of this thing, but you only got one of it. This is going to end badly for you. Because what if all of the 400 people you sold this symbol to want the one thing that you have all at once? What happens then? You have a short squeeze and you all blow up your P&L. But nobody wants to listen to that, dude. So what do? Mansplainer. Old, pale, and male. Right? Incel. Chud. Get out of the room. You're taking the vibe down. You just don't have a cultural fit. Harassment! I feel uncomfortable. And he's gone. And you can continue on your merry way selling symbols, knowing that nobody in the fucking room can see past that symbol to what's underneath it, because they're all women. Except for you. You're the man who knows exactly what's up, but you don't give a fuck about the women or the people you're selling these symbols to. You just give a fuck about increasing your bottom line, which is why the CEO pay over the last however many decades that feminism has trotted into the workplace has gone from 20 to 30 times to 200 to 300 times and some places 600 times because of this. Because these guys, they know. They know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly why they're staffing HR and PR and the firewall that keeps all of those chuds and their boring understanding of what symbols actually represent out of the room. They know what they're doing. And that's why you can honestly say corporate profits are what's causing it, because a symptom or a subsidiary effect of all of this is you have to destroy the relationship between men and women. You have to give HR the ability to constantly kick chuds out of the room so you don't have to deal with their opinion about you selling infinite numbers or infinite symbols of the thing without any consideration of what those symbols represent. You got to keep kicking them out of the room, which requires HR, which requires the constant threat of harassment, which requires a rule that, if the chud makes the women feel uncomfortable, he's got to go. So he's constantly walking on eggshells, constantly feeling like he's on borrowed time. And many of these guys won't even speak up. They don't want to lose their job for mansplaining or making an uncomfortable cultural climate. And that's how we fucked ourselves, guys. And I think that the problem with the relationship between men and women, particularly in the workplace, just a side effect of a whole bunch, like a group of financial extractors wanting to create the fatberg to feed off of. And they found out that feminism was the best way to do it. The best way to sort of terraform the cultural environment for them to set up shop and start sucking. All right, there you go. I have completed my autistic rant on trains. I will be
For
quiet now.
now. Well, there's only a little left in this, so I'll just finish this off. Okay. So, in the midst of a backlash against our tech-induced culture of optimization, ease, and productivity, it's time we recognize that love cannot be cannot be repressed for the sake of a profit-first environment. The people we spend half our waking lives alongside are probably a safer bet than strangers, so why not ask your colleague out? At the very least, you're more likely to marry them than your hinge match. Actually, you could lose your job, though. And I don't think I can look at the comments here because this is an archive link. But you said that you had comments.
I have them. I can give you gestalt answers because I got them in Punished Claude, and I can pattern match on things. I can tell you that the majority of the people who talked about this situation and actually described problems were men. Men describing how their jobs, they lost their jobs or they had to quit because they approached a woman. And they say that they did it respectfully because that's the first thing that they always attack. Because if a woman just loses her shit, a woman who's primed to regard a man approaching her as like the death of herself by feminist theory, right? Feminist conjecture, because, it's the site of an objectification and all of that other stuff, just loses her shit, or is just a vengeful woman, right? Or if she feels offended by the fact that he expressed any interest in her at all and just decides to punish him for it, okay? All of this stuff happens. But people will say, oh, you just didn't do it respectfully enough. If you had been respectful, this wouldn't have happened to you. Which is like, it's a no-win. But anyway, most of them were men talking about ending up on the meat hook realities of HR because they had approached a woman respectfully. Like, I'm pretty sure they're not going out and hooliganizing. Probably they would have done better if they had. Like, but this is the situation. These guys were ruined because they approached a woman. And interestingly enough, there are some people who talk about a good thing happening, but here's the thing. The people who talk about positives from workplace romances are women and older people. Okay, so people who were married by the time MeToo came about. Those are the two, that's the demographic category. Women, because they don't experience the negatives, I'm going to be really honest here, they don't. I mean, the harassment that women complain about is so rarefied. Like genuine harassment, not just human awkwardness, is so rare, and they have recourse. And even in this article, which basically calls out women and minorities as being the ones most harmed by this situation, even in this article, the comments only surface like 3 women, 2 of which reframe like, well, one of which was like, I was approached by 3 men over the course of my career, 2 of which, quote unquote, froze me out, which, if you translate that from relational web speak to man speak, basically they just probably felt awkward around her after, you know what I mean, Brian? And they
Yeah.
just didn't know how to deal with it. So they just either got quiet or just stopped responding just because it was embarrassing. But of course, she's a relational web thinker, so she has to see it in terms of a passive aggressive campaign against her rather than just men getting their feelings hurt and just wanting to move on. And then one guy who managed to keep it professional. So we have one example of a woman who had 2 awkward experiences as a result of being asked out, and one relatively professional one. Okay? And then we have another woman who says, I was stalked and cornered in the copier room. Now, here's the problem with these kinds of confessionals, these anonymous confessionals. They always stop at the worst, right? So this is the worst. And apparently what happened is from the copier room, like cornering, is the guy had an awkward conversation with her based on some kind of, she says, intentionally misunderstood thing that she said, right? And
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but an awkward conversation is just the cost of being human. I've had plenty. And then the other one was a woman who was dealing with persistent no's, which I would point out is exactly the Barack and Michelle Obama story, because he had to keep asking her over and over again. So I guess it's romantic if it ends positively, but if it's a sex pest, it's a horrible, life-destroying event. But those are the 3 this article that exclusively framed this in terms of minorities and women being harmed by it. That's all
Yeah.
it could surface. And then the majority of what it surfaced was men saying, I lost my job. I got socially ostracized. I had to quit because of this situation that you're asking me to run the gauntlet for, to bring you this utility that you never appreciated in the first place. Because that's the final line here. All of these workplace romances in the past were a lot of elbow grease for some dude. So they were bringing the utility into the workplace for women to enjoy. No appreciation of that. Just looked at the negatives, created an entire movement ignoring male victims and ignoring the amount of work that men do and how many times it doesn't end in disaster or doesn't end with being able to work leverage to get women in jobs that the men have to vacate, whatever, you know, ignoring all of that, seeing it very one-sided, creating an even greater risk, because she talks about corporate profit, right? And I explained how corporate profit could be seen. But the more concrete and pragmatic answer to that is that you raise the costs of men providing this utility to women to such a point that men no longer want to take the effort. And then you've also decreased the value of what they get at the end of the day. Because I've heard young men say they look at women and they just don't even bother because it's just exhausting. The idea of even being in a relationship with a woman. It's just exhausting. Like, it's astounding, isn't it? Young men look at women now and they are exhausted That is the overwhelming feeling they have, is exhaustion. Like that was not the case, I'm pretty sure, when me and Brian were young. I don't recall that. But it's the
No.
case now. So not only have they increased the costs of men approaching women, they have decreased the actual benefit for men to do so. So men are like, well, why should I deliver this utility? Right? Women's sexual
Mhm.
satisfaction relies on men doing a lot of work, delivering a utility to women. Why should they do it at this point? I know some men will continue to try, although it seems like it's getting less and less and less. But why should they? It wasn't appreciated when it did it, and then it was subject to a gigantic slur campaign that made it even more dangerous to do. So why? And I want to point out that she has absolutely no sympathy for men
No.
at all. Like, why would you even want, like, this dude who's being orbited by a bunch of women? Why would this dude want this woman in his life? Right? Okay, so look at the framing asymmetry. Okay. She has zero understanding. She registers male rejection, looks maxing as men trying to evade being turned down, and hikikomori? Hikikomori? It's
Hikikomori?
the grass eaters.
Yeah.
The young men who wall themselves into their bedrooms. So it's not like she does recognize some things, but the framing, women's rejection response, she renders sympathetically, self-blame, weighing themselves, asking friends what's wrong with their profile. Men's rejection response, she roots through threat, incels blaming feminism and women, sometimes culminating in violent extremism, which is the language that increases the cost for men to approach women at all. Let's be honest here. She's literally saying, hey, men, why don't you approach, while she slaps a baseball bat into the palm of her hand? Come on, guys, approach. I won't use my mace on your skull. Come on. Like, and she doesn't understand why it's not working.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so men's rejection response, sometimes culminating in violent extremism. Men channel loneliness into aggression, and that a lonely society is a dangerous one. Women who are rejected are wounded. Men who are rejected are dangerous. Oh, god damn. It's like you look at these women and their brain has been rotted out by feminism. So they literally think that spouting off threats to men is going to attract men. Like you saying to men, your loneliness causes you to be dangerous is going to attract men. Right? Oh, women are victims of this situation of being approached by men. So approach women, men. Like, no understanding of the causality in her speech. Oh. She's a perfect node in the firewall to prevent anybody who understands, who can solve the waterline test from speaking. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did you want to add anything to that?
No, I said most of what I wanted to say while I was reading the article. So.
Yeah, it is like I have said in the past that the human race will either have a future. I mean, yes, if the rest of the world doesn't just like crush the Amish, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, if our civilization is going to have a future, as any civilization is going to have a future, you cannot have that and feminism. And that's
Yeah.
not. I'm not saying it has from my research. It has nothing to do with women working, women being educated, women having income, because they have always done that. There's only been like 20 years in human history where the luxury good known as a housewife was available to anyone. Like 20-year period. Okay? It's the only time that women couldn't work, that women of a certain class in a certain country didn't have to work, and there was a lot of them. And everything shitty has come out of it. So never do it again, guys. Make sure she's always got little bowls to clean for the rest of eternity. But anyway, that one moment in time is not historically the norm. All right. So this isn't about women having jobs. It's not about women having education. It's not about women having an income. They always have. And in the past, often the only income was through the house or the home farm. Okay. It's not the
Mm-hmm.
issue. It is feminism. And those two things are completely separate. Feminism did not create women working. Women worked prior to the housewife. Feminism just capitalized on Betty Friedan's The Problem with No Name, which basically was boredom. Why housewives couldn't just get a whole bunch of puzzles or maybe work on the grand unified theory of everything in their spare time? Why they had to invent this massive or enhance, like, I mean, because the grievance started in the previous sort of housewife era with the Victorians, when we had another kind of empire that was really successful that allowed a bunch of women to stay at home and start getting upset over the fact that they had nothing to do. And then it picked up again in the 50s when suddenly there was another stretch of time when we could give women this kind of free time to complain about having free time,
Mm-hmm.
right? So they just picked up on the old grievances and just added more. Okay, that's what they did. They created feminism from that, from their free time. They had nothing else to do. And and feminism did not create women working. They did it before feminism. What it did was it capitalized on the grievance of having nothing to do. As Betty Friedan said, the problem with no name. That's what they did.
Mm-hmm.
And then these women have plenty of time to create trouble, which is also what they did. So it's not about women working. It's not about women having an income. It's not about women's education. And feminism never did that for women anyway. It is specifically about feminists' framing of the relationship between the sexes as being the site of women's oppression. Heterosexuality is the site of women's oppression. Men use rape and domestic violence to keep women in line, right? All of that. That is injecting poison directly into our ability to pair bond. There's nowhere else this is coming from. Yes, we have a prosperous society. That is a problem. But there is no society right now that's really experiencing a collapse in their fertility that can't boast some kind of a feminist movement. Even China, even though they moved away from that and actually sort of respect men who build stuff, but regardless, everybody's dealing with that. And even if it was a situation of modernity creating comfort, leading to a situation where women just don't become adult enough to want to pair bond and have children, fine. Feminism makes it worse. So it either is a direct culprit or it is complicit. Either way, we're not going to get out of this problem without getting rid of it and being more reasonable about the relationship between men and women. Okay? Men don't degrade women. They don't erase women by choosing them. They don't objectify women, right? They don't destroy women by explaining something. They are not a toxin. And incidentally, you should never listen to feminists and the feminists in the psychology of men and masculinities on men because they have absolutely categorically removed the possibility of a man being good. Right? They've removed that there's any goodness from men or masculinity. Men or
Yeah.
masculinity, not just a neutered man who happens to act like a woman. That's what they say when they say, "Oh, men can be better." Yeah, they mean men can renunciate being a man, renunciate their masculinity, live in a constant state of self-abnegation, try to get as close as possible to being a complete neuter, not even a trans woman, because that's encroaching on women's territory, just a neuter, and then take a sense of goodness from how well he can conform his behavior to a woman without ever identifying as one. Right? That's their idea of goodness for men. It's why we have this persistent, like, cabal of male feminists in our comments. Have you noticed that, Brian?
You mean like after the streams are over? Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, you see me arguing with them.
Yeah, I have.
Um,
Yeah.
but here's the thing. We have guys, I've had guys tell me, you've probably had men tell you this too. that knowing that they weren't alone made them not unalive themselves,
Yeah.
right? Like this is something like having been able to hear what we have to say gave them the will to keep going, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
they didn't feel like they were completely isolated or alone. Those feminist men, this place is the only place where they get a sense of being good as men. And I'll tell you why. Because the only thing left to them to feel good as a man is renunciating other men and anybody who's male positive. So they come
Yeah.
here to do the only thing that makes them feel good about themselves, which is
Yeah.
renunciate us. So we're literally keeping them from unaliving themselves. We're the only place they get it, right? If they didn't have a place to go where they could renunciate being a man and masculinity, and they could go in the comments and say, oh, the left is just against toxic masculinity. And I ask, well, what's positive masculinity? No answer, because they don't have one, because there is nothing good in their worldview about being a man or masculinity. If they could come here to our channel and renunciate being a man, they'd have nothing. They'd have no way to feel good about themselves, because their only way of feeling good about themselves is to renunciate being a man, to renunciate any pro-male behavior, and to say, I am the one man who's willing to do this. That's the source of their self-esteem. That's why we can't shake them. Like, these guys have been here for freaking decades. Well, maybe not decades, but definitely years. I've seen these names pop up over and over again. I'm like, why are you here? You disagree with everything we say, because this is the only place where they can get a sense of self-esteem. And they get it from being the one man who calls out all the other men and renunciates his masculinity. And this is the only place they can do it. Can't do it with feminists. They're just going to attack them even more. Like, literally, we're saving their lives too. Think about that. Yeah, this has got to stop. Oh, good Lord. Okay, anyway, I am done. If you want to add
I
anything
got
to that.
well, I got some super chows I should read. I got 3 that came through all at the same time. I think they were stuck in the tubes, but they managed to come through, so I'm gonna read them out. But yeah, I mean, I think you basically covered it. All right, Dark Kikimora, because I think these are all going to be short conversation starters too, gave us $5 and said, "What are genuinely submissive or masochistic men supposed to do according to the red pill?" What? The red pill states that women don't like that shit, but what if it's just a million times hotter than vanilla or dominant sex to a man, like a hit of heroin almost to him?
Well,
Do you want to take
I
that,
don't think it's
Alison?
sure. I'll take it. I don't. Why are you asking us? All right, we're not the red pill. Well, I mean, we were when the red pill was about men's issues or men's rights. Now the red pill is about a particular strand of men who will say, "Oh, look at women's insane standards. If you want to live up to women's insane standards, buy my freaking course." Like, that is not us. So I don't know. Go ask them. No offense. Like, I mean, how do we answer that? Go ask a man. Go ask a red pill like manosphere dude. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
Want to do the next one?
Yeah. All I'll say to that is that like nobody can tell you what you have to do. You do what you want to do anyway. Who cares? Like you could be talking about actual like MRA types as well, but at the end of the day, why do you need the manosphere or the red pill to like co-sign your particular tastes? Just do you. All right, Richard Pierre gives us $5 and says, office dating is like being in the environment where there is the laser bug zapper that is supposed to unzap. Is that what it says? Unzap the mosquitoes and not realizing that it identifies everyone outside of a very specific set of parameters as a mosquito, similar to the specific parameters that a phalanx cleese in weapons system has been programmed to not fire upon. Everything else is fair game. Yeah, like this woman doesn't actually care about like the damage that all of these systems that basically created the workplace environment that she now laments. She doesn't care that that happened. She just cares that the guy that she's crushing on is actually like, I don't know, abiding by those rules. He's like, well, I'm not doing that. Or he was taken like before she even saw him. Like, we don't know. All we have is her side of the story. All she said was, well, it didn't work out. That could just mean he never approached her. And so she, in her own mind, she was like, well, I guess he dumped me. It could be that he did go out with her, but didn't like her, ghosted her. It could be any number of things. But she doesn't actually care about like the system. She just cares that she wasn't approached, you know, that her and all of her girlfriends weren't like actually doing this supposed competition to get the best man. None of them probably took the initiative. They probably all just, you know, did the usual feminine thing. They walked around him, they laughed at his jokes, they flipped their hair, and then nothing happened and they were like, well, I guess he doesn't want me. And again, it could be that he was just like, I'm not doing that. That's dangerous. So, all right, Richard Bier then gives us 5. That's the thing. Like, you create these conditions and you actually drive away men that you like, but the problem isn't that a man that you liked was pushed away. The problem is that you put those policies in place because you wanted to avoid running into men that you don't like, which is probably the overwhelming majority of them. So like 80, 85, 90% of the men at the workplace aren't talking to you because of those laws or rules you put in place, which you're fine with. It's the one guy that you are interested in that also won't approach you, that you don't like. So it's like you want the world to change for you. And it's not the way it works. All right, Richard Bier gives us 2 more super chows. One for 5 where he says, that laser bug zapper either never made it to the market or was taken off the market. I have only seen some ads for it. The phalanx system is in service still. It sounds like a chainsaw when it fires. Well, this is like a really weird tangent, but okay. Then for 5, he says, remember that Eve got bored with Adam after a certain point and chose to listen to the snake and partake of the forbidden fruit. It wasn't that she got bored with Adam. It was that she was tempted by the serpent. But I understand. Roboto gives us $1 and says, we would all write with an HBR standee that says, buy my book, Alison. All right. Thank you, Roboto. I don't know.
What?
He says, I'm just going to read it exactly as it was typed. Maybe English isn't his first language. He said, we would all write with a HBR standee that say, buy my book, Alison. With 2 L's. All right. Thank you for that. And I read everything. So, Joe Q8362 said, higher education and careers, not jobs, leads to low birth rates. Are women going to become entrepreneurs making high income if we ban them from university and careers? No, they'll get married. Well, I mean, I don't think we should ban them, but I don't think we should delude people into thinking that, like, you know, university is for everybody.
Yeah.
I don't think it is. So I don't think we should ban them, but I think we should, like, they should be informed. Because most women go to college in the hopes of meeting a man anyways. Like, they don't really go because they have some ambition they're chasing. You know?
Wow.
What?
Wow, that's probably very true and also completely futile at this point.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's why
I mean,
women get jobs too.
one
Like
of it.
they work at a big, like if they work for a big company, like a big law firm or something, they're trying to get, I mean, they're working, they want to make money. I'm not saying they're not trying to make money, but I think they're on the hunt for a man. And they go to the where the top earners are, and they hope to attract one because then they can quit. You see, like
Yeah.
look, women are not stupid. They know where their bread is buttered, right? If they can get a good man that makes good money, they can quit their job, go home, and just have kids with them. I think that's what a lot of women do. So,
Yeah, I have to agree. Also,
yeah.
it's funny because there's this institutional pressure to keep because when I started this, right, it's honestly the institutional condemnation of male sexuality and the minefield relationships has just gotten worse and worse and worse. It keeps ratcheting up. And women will want to pair bond, and their own beliefs that they've passively absorbed from feminism, of course, make it even more difficult. And then also the institutional adoption of feminism makes the rules and the laws and the culture even more difficult. And the only people that they're allowed to blame is men.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else is making the situation far more difficult. Feminism, all of these corporate policies, academic policies, government policies, making it tremendously difficult, and also giving men every reason to avoid it. And all women can do is keep blaming men. Like I would like now. I guess this maybe I'm the only example of that, but just women. Well, not because we got Hannah, we got Lauren, we got Prim, we got Karen, got a few women, but just
Mm-hmm.
be able to just stop blaming men and just step out of the comforting, warm embrace of the powers that be and actually look at what the situation is. Wow, it would be great if women could do that. Don't you think, Brian?
Yeah.
Like that, if I were to ask God for one improvement on Eve, just be able to think for herself, right? And not assume what the snake is saying to be her own independent thinking. Really think for, get more opinions. Like, take the snake's opinion, takes Adam's opinion, take God's opinion, weight them. Consider which one has her best benefit in mind, and maybe select more wisely from the range of opinions and not just go with the first one that just starts to trigger her resentment and envy. Just be able to just step back away from that and just, hey, does the corporate conglomerate that's Fed backstopped really have my best interest in mind? Hmm? Does Hugo Schweitzer, feminist professor extraordinaire, does he have my best interests in mind? Maybe I should judge these entities by their behavior. Just a little bit of critical thinking, right? That is like, okay, God, if you're out there, if you're listening, just one wish, God, just one. Let women be able to see through the waterline challenge or the waterline test. Yeah, just let them be able to see through the relational web to the substrate underneath. Let them be able to see through all of this. Give them the gift of critical thought, right?
Yeah.
And then instantly feminism disappears. Okay. All right, I'm good. I don't
All right.
want to be
I
like
think I
not
read
like the other
everything.
women.
Let me make sure I didn't miss any of the super chows. Okay, yeah. Go on. Sorry, you don't want to be like
No,
other
I just
women.
said I don't want to not be like other women. Right?
You don't
That's what I
want
wish.
to not be, so you want to
Okay,
be
too
like
many
other
negatives.
women?
Too many negatives. Okay.
Okay, yeah, can't follow it, but go on.
I want to be like other women,
Oh, I see.
but I don't
I
want to
see.
I don't have to
But not
change.
as
I
they
want
are.
other
Yeah.
not as they are. I want them to understand what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
When I say maybe not everybody who flatters you has your best interests at heart. There you go.
Yeah.
That could be a good start for critical thinking. All right. So anyway, if you have anything you want to tell us after the show is over, anything that I've said or Brian has said that you want to argue with or you know
Or
fawningly
those
praise.
that want to will definitely do it.
Oh hey, Alf, did you notice that our detractor um
Albert, which
made
one?
yeah, Albert, that
Oh
no
yeah,
oh yeah,
Albert. Okay.
the one that gave us $70 to tell us that we are the worst, and then also has now retracted, not retracted that, I don't know. he's brought up a concern about Dean Cain losing his children.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard
so
about
apparently
Dean
we're
Cain
still-
losing his kids, but I mean, yeah, good luck with that, getting him on the show. I could try, but I don't think it's gonna happen.
Feminist jurisprudence comes for every man, no
Mm-hmm.
matter what virtue he has signaled.
Came for
It is
Superman,
coming for you.
apparently. Yeah.
It just comes for every man.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the Reaper. All right, so if you want to send us a message anytime after the show is over, feedthebadger.com/justthetip is the way to do that. If you want to support us so we can continue to bring you this content from our very unique angle, that maybe the people who said that heterosexuality is the site of female oppression are the ones who destroyed human mating. Like, maybe we should look there. Anyway, go to feedthebadger.com/support to support that message of maybe not blaming men for once. And if you want to join us in our community, that's badgernation.online. It's all in the low bar as well. And I will hand it back to Brian.
All right, I did get a Rumble rant the last second, so I'm going to read it and then we'll go from there. NobaFan21 gave us $1 and said, I get a feeling this is just the feminists desperate to get their male victim quota to justify their leech jobs. All right. Thank you for that. Okay, with that said...
Well, it's possible.
I
mean...
I don't know what this article has to do with any of that, but I get that, yes, they're... I know.
They need their quotas up, right? They need their harassment quota.
I know that exists. Like that they will use victimhood to get power. That's what the MeToo movement was. It was fabricating, I think, in many cases, if not most cases, victimhood so that they could get men's jobs. Because that ultimately, like, using male victimhood or being victimized by men, it by itself is not a reason to do it. It's how they benefit after that. So they get a job. So they get some government money. So they get a bunch of attention. So they get to raise their profile. They get to increase their clout. They get a raise. They get, whatever. They get money. They get attention. They get showered with praise. They get sympathy. They get whatever it is. That's what the real, that's what you look at when it comes to why are they doing this? How do they benefit? So... okay, but anyway, with that said, if you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment, let us know what you guys think about what we talked about on the show today, and share the video because sharing is caring. Thank you guys so much for coming on this episode of Maintaining Frame, and we will talk to you guys in the next one.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.